This is Brandon, and I'm back with part two of the MWO invading the Toy Posse. So we're here with Billy Peck, and he is basically you're more the producer, but also or third host
Yeah,
of the Major World Order, which is a fan podcast of the Major Wrestling Figure podcast. I got
correct.
it right this time. Many people were texting me. You effed up. Um, so how are you doing? You're just down in Omaha, so that's only like a 6 hour drive from
Yep,
Minneapolis.
yep.
Were you Nebraskan, like born and raised, or?
Well, so technically it is I technically live in Iowa. It's this small town so you've been to Omaha and you're familiar with the area.
Yeah,
There's a right on the border of Omaha, Nebraska is Council Bluffs, Iowa.
yeah. We literally that's where my girlfriend's parents and uh brother and his family have campers down there at Little Sioux Falls, I think.
Okay, sure.
Because I just remember I have to drive through Council Bluffs to.
Yep. So I live in Carter Lake, Iowa, which is right in between the two, and it's just like this small little town of 3,000 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's
it's
like,
just easier to say I'm from Omaha because that's
yeah,
what
exactly.
everyone knows.
Yeah. And he's like, I just say Minneapolis, or like when I like people are like, oh, are you from here? I'm like, no, I'm from Philadelphia, like Westchester area, because my town's too small for anybody to know where it is. So no, I feel
Exactly.
you. And it's only like a 2 hour, 2.5 hour drive to Omaha, right? Because
For,
you do the wrestling stuff, like the announcing stuff for that.
oh no, Council Bluffs and Omaha are like 5 minutes from each other.
Oh, is it? I keep thinking it was like an hour, like 2 hours.
So you might be thinking of Sioux City, Iowa, or because you said Little Sioux or
Yeah, that's where they have it was like a campground by like the
yeah,
little
there's a
park.
bunch of towns out in Iowa that yeah. So
So
anyway,
basically,
here's
it's like a stone's throw away.
yes. So I yes, you brought up me doing ring announcing for wrestling, and that takes place in Omaha. The company's called PWP, and yeah, I live 15-20 minutes away from the venue that it typically runs at.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And now that we've gotten niche geographical Midwest
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
talk
So
out of
here's the geographical uh show.
but so what kind of have you been a lifelong collector of everything, or what kind of got you into collecting overall, like the 80s, 90s cartoons, or
um yeah, I suppose collecting as a kid is just wanting action figures to play with. But yeah, I always had figures. I recall it starting kind of with GI Joe, like the smaller ones with the rubber band inside of them.
Mhm.
Not like the big Barbie doll size ones. And that turned into Ghostbusters. The real Ghostbusters was it wasn't my first collecting thing, but it was probably the first thing I loved getting. And then of course that turned into Ninja Turtles, and then there's Batman and different superheroes, and then wrestling came along. So that's the basics of some of the figures and toys that I had that eventually turned into me going yeah, now it's time to display this stuff.
Yeah, I came really late to the figure game. Like I was always the kid that had all the figures, like all the Ghostbusters. I had the Mortal Kombat version, like not the GI Joe.
Mm.
Like I didn't like GI Joes, but I loved the Mortal Kombat ones.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you reminded me of the rubber band in them.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, they were just play. I just played with them, whatever. And I'm like, but I became a comic book freak. Like just I
Oh
had to get
yeah.
rid bagged and boarded. Like I couldn't have them loose. If it's starting to get
Mm.
that bend, it's like I can't have that.
Yeah,
So
I was a fan of comics.
yeah.
I wasn't a huge collector, but I always loved going to the comic shop and loved, X-Men and Ninja Turtles and, mostly those. So yeah.
Nice. Those are some pretty good ones I like.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, yeah, that was so weird because it was like I didn't display them until like probably 6 years ago. I didn't, like
Oh,
probably.
okay. Yeah.
Um, but so with wrestling, have you been like Were you Attitude Era or were you Hogan era, Hogan Warrior era?
Um, right in between.
Okay.
The very first thing I ever saw was Shawn versus Razor at WrestleMania 10.
Oh my god, I played that tape so many times.
Yeah, I was at my neighbor's house, and I remember like playing with one of the kids or something, and they had it on, so like I might have caught matches beforehand, but nothing was really like sticking. And then someone said, "Oh, this match is gonna suck. It's bad guy versus bad guy," because
Oh yeah, Sean was that guy.
yeah, and the bad guy, Razor Ramon,
Mm-hmm.
so it just, I suppose casual fans, they need that good versus bad, and they're both bad, so this match is gonna suck. But something about that caught my ear, and I was like, So I watched it, and it was like, whoa, okay, this is awesome. So that's where I started, just a couple years uh, previous to the Attitude Era starting to become a thing.
Oh, nice. Okay. It's like the new generation into
Yeah,
Attitude Era.
yeah.
Nice. So what are your main points of collecting besides wrestling figures?
It's a lot. I I love collecting vinyl, like movie soundtracks mainly, or
Okay.
scores. Um,
Along with one of our hosts, Chad, he's a big vinyl collector.
okay. I get some band stuff. Like Kiss is my favorite band. I like Rob Zombie, stuff like that. But primarily it's film score. Um, I am a big like movie collector. I have over, I don't know, 4 or 5 thousand movies. But then like as far as like figures go, the primary collection would be like horror characters like Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees,
Okay.
Chucky, stuff like that. And I collect a lot of stuff.
Nice.
So
Speaking of horror, did you get that lifelike Chucky? Like we
yes, I
had,
did.
yeah,
Yep.
a girl in our group got it, so we had her on, and I was like, "Geez, that thing looks like it's gonna pop out at night and just stab you."
Yep. Yeah, he comes in the good guy doll box, and yeah,
Uh,
I that was that was one of my like dream collection items for so long, and the only way you could get them was like if they were bootlegged or whatever, and
yeah,
like really good ones were like $3,000, and I'm like, well, I'm never gonna spend that.
yeah,
um
because
and
they're all
then
third-party vendors and stuff.
right, and then like they came out with the official one, and they had a Kickstarter for it, and it was $500, and that's still pretty dang pricey, but it's like just about as accurate as you can get. So,
Like
like I
without
said, that
having the actual doll from the movie.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. So,
so is
yeah,
that one of your like nice centerpieces?
um,
Because
it's
you get the
so
accessory
big, it's
parts, like
hard to
accessories
make a
and stuff.
centerpiece out of it. So I mean, like I have it like set up, like it's in the box, and he's like standing there, so it looks like he's like looking out, the window of it.
Oh, nice.
But I don't have it like centered to a display or anything like that. It's just kind of hanging out
Oh, I didn't
where
know
you
if
can just see
you
it.
by movie. Like then you'd have like a Jason Voorhees thing and a Leatherface thing.
Oh, I do. So like I have shelving, but and so yeah, each shelf is like those different characters. But again, like I said, the Chucky is so big that
Gotcha.
it's hard to,
You
I
need
don't
a
know, really
whole.
put them
You
in a
would
great
actually.
spot.
You'd need like an actual, just a custom stand. Like,
Yes,
yeah,
yes. I mean,
like
because it's, I don't know,
it looks like
30 inches tall or something like that. I don't
yeah.
know. It's pretty tall
Um.
or more. I don't know inches.
So who
Don't.
was your like favorite out of all those? Like if they ever had the dream, like they had the Freddy versus Jason, but if they ever had like the almighty universe of all like Pinhead versus Leatherface versus like Michael Myers,
Like who's my
like
favorite,
who's your pick? Like, or do you
or
just
who's
have
gonna win?
like who's your pick? Like who's your favorite person?
Okay,
Like,
okay, yeah. Michael Myers is my all-time favorite.
okay,
Yep.
do you think he would win though?
No,
Okay, well, I mean,
I
he
think
keeps coming
Freddy would
back.
win.
Like it would just be like he'd keep finding ways. The writers would keep him
I
alive.
mean, but they all have that, you know.
True.
Freddy is,
Like,
he's
his is the
the
least believable. 'Cause he got his head
he
chopped off, and it's like in H2O, and then it's like it wasn't him. Like, come on,
right.
man. Like, who else would go on a killing spree? Like, they just found another person.
Yep.
Did you get those NECA for Season of the Witch? Like the three
Yes, I
kids?
do. Yep.
Oh my God, I keep
Yeah.
that's what I want to find in a Target. Like those.
Yeah. Big fan of that movie as well. Yeah, the Halloween series is like, as far as fandoms go, I would probably put that at like number one of like anything I'm like is my favorite of anything is the franchise.
Yeah. So with the when you talk about music scores, like, do you have something special, like a first print of the Halloween vinyl? Like, did they make a soundtrack, a vinyl for that?
No, I don't have an original. It's usually like there's like Mondo or Waxwork. Those are like the two main vinyl companies that they release stuff,
Oh, okay.
currently. So it's all like, it's still vinyl, but it's like state of the art and new, and I do have some vintage stuff, but I'm not really like
Okay. So you're mainly
overly
just
worried.
new. Yeah, you'll just get the newer print of it.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Circling back to like the DVDs and movies and VHS, because I'm assuming you have like all types like beta, VHS, DVD,
Um, I I
Laserdisc.
I had beta as a kid. I don't have any of that now. I have a little bit of a VHS collection, but it's not like that was just stuff that was carried over from like when I was younger and VHS was still a thing.
Oh, okay, so you don't
Um,
actively seek out VHS.
no, every once in a while, like o- oddly enough, before we started, I said my collection is not here because this is like my studio area, but I did just get
Wait,
this.
is this a the that Aerosmith game all over again at on the
Yes,
podcast? You have to pull it out.
You
Oh,
listen.
oh
That's
my
really
God.
funny. Um,
I love you
so
talking.
in the latest Major World Order podcast, uh, well, depending on when this releases, we had Mark Bitters from the Major Wrestling Figure podcast fan group, and I,
Yeah, he's
outside
in.
of my studio, like so every once in a while, if I'm working down here you got to take like a little break and I can turn around and right behind this like wall here is like an old TV that has a VHS player in my Super Nintendo. So I can just kind
Oh,
of like, you know, relax, take my mind off things, play a little bit and I just happen to have my video games right here and I haven't put them
mm,
away yet. And so yeah, anyway, VHS things like this is
good God, I
the
remember
coming
that
out of
too.
their shells Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles making of. So it's like behind the scenes of the
Yeah, I
concert
didn't like their
footage.
heads. I didn't like the way their heads looked. When I was a
Well,
kid, I was just like
it's
something like didn't sit right with me.
yeah, no, it's goofy.
It's like, what am I looking at?
But like I can't get that on DVD or
Yeah.
Blu-ray. So if I want to watch it, it does have to be VHS. So that's like my only exception of I'll get that type of thing. But other than
Oh,
that, no, like I prefer Blu-ray,
so
or upgrading to 4K or whatever eventually, but
do you find like buying like one co-host Chad is buying up all these DVDs because he thinks that they're gonna gain value once people realize that because certain editions like certain ones with certain commentary on them, like, do you think that is gonna in like the next 10 years?
I think it already has for some things, especially some things have just gone out of print because, certain studios only have rights for a certain amount of years or
Don't some things get lost in like rights limbo, like no one knows who who owns
oh
it?
yeah, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff happens all the time. So like, staying in like the horror genre, there hasn't been a release of George Romero's Dawn of the Dead since like roughly like the year like 2003 or 4, somewhere in there. Like just right around when the remake came out, and then like there hasn't been another copy of that since. And it's held up in this weird thing of, rights or whatever. And so like if you want to go back and find a copy, it's very, very expensive now.
Yeah.
So that's not really like why I collect. I collect just because I like to own things, but I can see the allure too of hey, this thing's gonna be worth a lot.
Yeah.
I'm
I
a
saw I saw it more as a for that kind of hobby. It's like selling to feed the hobby to be like, oh, this is to get to this DVD because
Sure.
it's too expensive or something.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, yeah, that's that. I don't know. It's not really anything that I worry too much about. And
Mhm.
luckily, I was collecting the bulk of this stuff at a time where it was all readily available.
Yeah.
So I never really had to worry about that. Like, I'm sure there's some things that it's like, oh man, I really want that, but now it's really hard to come by. But no, mostly like I'm a big believer in physical media.
Hmm.
So
Just like
yeah.
to have it over a streaming service. Like, oh, I actually have the
Well,
movie. Or
I mean, there's that. Yes, there is the part of like physically wanting to have something. There's something concrete about it. And I, I won't get into like the whole thing of digital and all that, but like, you've heard, and if probably, the WWE network, with this being so wrestling related, we can go that direction. The network was great, but it still had things censored or taken out, or they'll never release it. It moved to Peacock, and it did that even more.
yeah.
And that kind of thing happens all the time. So, like, when Disney came out with Disney Plus, Toy
Mhm.
Story 2 had a scene in it that they're like, no, we got to take that out. It's a little too risque now. Well, they can't take it off of my DVD or my Blu-ray that I own.
Okay.
So, like, that's that's why I'm also like, I love streaming. It's very convenient. I don't always have to go downstairs and find something. It's easy to use, but I don't I don't care for it as an overall thing above physical.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
anyway, that's a
I
that's a
never.
whole thing.
Yeah. That's why I'm like I'm a comic book person. Not like
Yeah.
a lot of people do the online reading, but I'm like I like having that physical.
Mm-hmm.
So give me.
Yeah, no problem.
Dude. Sorry, but that I'm calling my throat. It just dried up real quick. But so getting back to the wrestling part,
Yes.
you like Hasbro era? Like, did you get LJNs and Hasbro's, or
No,
was
I didn't.
BC8?
So, uh, you know, um, WrestleMania 10 was like 1994 or
Yeah.
5, something like that. 4. So, I didn't like just fully immerse into wrestling quite yet. I'd say like I watched some, and then it
Mhm.
took probably another year or so for me to really get into it. And I can't really say like, and I don't know the timelines of this stuff, but I can't really say that like Hasbro didn't ever really feel like it was an option. Like, I don't recall really seeing this stuff in toy stores. Um, so as I'm becoming a wrestling fan, it was Bone Crunchers that like just took over. So it was a Bone Cruncher thing for me.
Okay. Yeah, I never like. I remember the Hasbro's only because like my friends would have those figures, and I would just be like obsessed with the Ghostbusters. Like I'd go to the toy aisle, and that's what I'd look for, that or Power Rangers. So it's like I don't even remember seeing Hasbro's. I remember seeing Jax because it was like the belts, um, everything like that. Like they had so much. Jax had so much stuff coming out,
Yeah.
and I just remember like I was a wrestling fan for the longest time, but never like a get the shirts, except an Austin 316 shirt that my mom wouldn't let me wear to school. Um, but like I liked to watch it. I knew the storylines, I knew everything. I just didn't get the figures until I got Maximum Sweat. I had like almost the whole
Oh
line.
wow.
I had I know at least I had Kane, The Rock, Austin, the New Age Outlaws, and I think I had Taker or Triple H. So
Okay.
I think I was just missing Jericho and the Edge.
And Gangrel.
Oh, and Gangrel, yes, dang.
Did you say Mankind?
Yes, I had Mankind.
Okay, okay.
I had Mankind too because I
Yep.
had because that was right as they were doing their feud, like empty arena matches and stuff.
Oh,
So I
sure.
had to have Mankind to fight The
Yeah,
Rock.
that's fine. I never owned any Maximum Sweat. I was aware of them, but I did not
That was the
have any.
only I owned until recently when I bought like an Andre Classic Superstar.
Oh, sure.
So it went into that, and then did you go into the Classic Superstars? Like, did you like that line, or were you in and out of like wrestling
Um, so like the classic superstars, that was when like they moved out
before?
of Bone Crunchers and
Yeah,
stuff, right?
yeah,
So
all the
no,
crazy.
by that time, I like most people, probably by like 99, 2000 ish, I started to like ease my way out of figures and wrestling and stuff. It was, I don't know, like I said, like we all kind of have that moment. I mean, maybe you didn't have it, I don't know, but most of us had that moment where it's like you kind of like put it all aside because it's time to grow up, and you're moving into like your teenage years, and there's relationships, and are you too old for this type of kiddie thing? So I took a break for a while, um and so when I came back, and like started like collecting things, it was probably about like 2004, 2005, like as I was starting to graduate and get a job and have my own money. So I would start to see things like on the shelves and be like, "Oh, hey, here's a new Shawn Michaels figure. I'm a big Shawn Michaels fan. I'll grab that." So I did start to move into that, like the ruthless aggression Jax type figures, but it wasn't. I did not go from one straight to the other.
Okay. Um, and so you're a big HBK fan. Do you have all
Yes.
the elites, even bald one?
Uh, I did get the bald one.
Okay.
It's a basic, but I
Oh
was
yeah, shoot.
I was one of the big maybe the only big advocator for that figure, just because like I know it's stupid. The match is horrible, but like it's like the last like look of Shawn Michaels as a wrestler.
Yeah, but we should never have had. That's the look no one
No,
asked
I
for.
agree. I
And
agree, but
like
it
him riding off
happened.
in 2011 was
I, I don't. I do not disagree.
he literally ruined his own like exit.
As far as like wrestling retirements go, I don't believe any of them. Shawn, I did believe. Like I'm not. I don't get that precious about things like that. You know, you say you retire, you come back, whatever. Someone remakes my favorite movie, I don't care. Make it. I'm probably going to watch it anyway. Like, do the thing that you got to do. But Shawn, it seemed like there was some integrity there.
Hmm.
And then he came back for that
Saving
one
shit,
match, and it
saving
was
stuff.
bad. But again, it's a whole new appearance. It happened. I think we needed something to memorialize it. And so I got it.
Good God. I'm probably gonna grab it if I see it at
And it
Walmart.
was cheap.
It's like $10, right?
Yeah.
No, okay. Um, so is that like how do you do your collecting nowadays? Since you have a kid, you're married,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
do you like, oh, one for my son, one for me?
No, no, no. Um, so in that regard, like, so it's kind of interesting. So his name is Logan. We named him after Wolverine.
Oh, there you go.
Um,
That's a great name.
technically, his
Better
first
than
and
James.
middle name is Logan Alec after Wolverine and Swamp Thing.
Oh, okay. Never heard
So,
Swamp Thing though. Never heard people talk about Alec Holland like
dude,
that.
like just straight up comic characters, probably
Swamp.
my favorite.
I'm
Like
a
Ninja
huge John
Turtles.
Constantine fan, so I love the Swamp Thing.
Yeah, I heard you talking, about with Husvar about having that I forget what issue number it is, 2037.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was like, oh hey, Swamp Thing stuff going on. Um to get back to like that part of collecting, like so his room, his walls are painted like Wolverine's costume. So
Oh,
it's yellow, like the top of the wall's yellow, the bottom of the wall's blue. It has like the black slashes and it has a red kind of like center deal, like where the belt would be. So if I get Wolverine or X-Men or Swamp Thing or even Constantine type things, we put them on display in his room, but they're still mine.
wow. All right.
But
He admires them.
he absolutely does. Like there are certain things, like so if we go shopping and we get a toy or something, there's certain things like he instantly knows like this is a toy that I can play with. Or he will know like, oh, display, like he's 3, his words are,
The
like
force is young in this child, right?
like
The force is very strong.
he gets it, like and there's even some things where like you'll get like those mystery minis or something and I'll get a double, so I'm just like, here, you can have this, and he'll be like, display, so
Like
I'm
he
like,
starts his own little display. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah, he does, yep.
Oh, nice. So
So
he's kind of organically becoming like a little collector for now.
yeah, 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 it's pretty funny. He even has a Zack Ryder retro that he does play with it, but when he's done playing with it, it goes back on display.
Nice. I just
So
like I don't know. I just get fascinated with that because it's like my dad does not get this. He's like just he supports me, but he's just like whatever. It's weird,
yeah.
Um, but like you and your son and like Owen and David,
Hmm.
just like
Hmm.
intrigues me. Like it's a cool like bonding experience because it's like a different thing than sports, a different thing than bonding over like an activity. Like this is like just I don't know. I feel like it's something that it's so many memories can be shared, between
Yeah.
both of them.
Yep.
But does he like read comic books too? Is he starting to read like the kid friendly ones?
I
Not,
mean,
but like look at them and
yeah, I mean, he does love looking at books, and um, he does know who some of the superhero characters are. I haven't gotten him a whole lot of like comic type books, but we definitely get him books with those characters and stuff in it. So,
yeah.
yeah, he does love, at least looking at them or
Okay, so
having them
yeah,
read
you have
to
them
him.
in children's book form.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Because I didn't know, like, I knew they had like youth comic books that was just like I thought it was just pictures, like basic.
Yeah, I mean, he does the only one thing like that he has is a Toy Story one.
No, okay.
That is like it's like a just more of like a sturdy comic. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And
Oh,
even I'm like, well, don't mess this up.
nice. He's like bagging and boarding them. He has like a long box. He's like, Dad, don't breathe on them too hard, okay?
Right. You get your fingerprints on it, Dad.
Like there's doo doo and chocolate on this. Yeah. Uh, so as we wrap up, so looking forward to the next year, like what are your top 3 big gets? Like what are you looking for this year
Ooh.
to put in your collection? Like big boy purchases or just like a lot of little ones that complete a set?
Yeah, I don't, I have like ideas of things for like big boy purchases. Like I would like to get going back to that replica Chucky. There's a Tiffany and Glenn, the
Oh yeah.
the girl and the son or whatever. But those are $500 a piece. I doubt that those will happen even within like the next 2 years. Um, but little things that I want to finish. Big Luke Harper fan, and um, I was he didn't really have that many figures to begin with.
Mhm.
And I was just kind of slowly piecing this stuff together, and then he died, and made the stuff a little more difficult to come by. But I have all of his Mattel figures. But there are 2 other figures that I want to get to kind of complete that collection, and I would have all of his figures, is WWE had this like off-brand Lego thing called Stack Down.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
And I didn't know about them. I knew about the brand, but I didn't know that there was like these
I think
Wyatt family ones. So like there's one set that like it's all three of the main
with the
Wyatts.
chair, right? The rocking chair.
Well, so I think there's one of those, but there's one that's like it's like a whole like swamp play set.
Oh, okay.
So there's one that like it's him in just like the wife beater, and then there's one with him in the like the red flannel or whatever. And it's like those are so hard to find, or they're like $80 for a little Lego. So I'm like,
just for the one, just for the Lee Parker one.
It depends.
Okay.
Usually for the set, but so that's one thing I would like to complete. I don't know. I can't really say there's a whole lot that I really like am looking to complete, or you know, with being a big part of like the major wrestling figure community. I kind of have this idea that it'd be cool to get like the Stomp, you know, the old WWF Stomp characters. You know, and other than that, like, I don't know, like I'm a big Ninja Turtle fan. I'm always looking to, you know, add like I mostly collect like Michelangelo, because collecting all four, there's just too many. So I just narrow it down to my favorite.
Is
So
he the coming up for Super 7?
In
the wave?
Yeah.
Okay.
That one was already done.
Yeah, I got the metalhead from that one.
Oh, cool.
I think that's the only thing I'm gonna collect, like Raphael stuff and metalhead.
Oh, cool. I love it.
Cartoons, but I was like, I can't do it.
Yeah, I get Michelangelo, not everything, you know, but when I see something or whatever, I try and grab it, and I will get like other characters, and from time to time I might get the other turtles, but it's got to be pretty special. So, yeah, I don't know, nothing too exciting about collecting plans moving forward. It's just I suppose the biggest thing is waiting for the major figures to come out.
Oh yeah, geez, when the heck are they coming out? And the zombie figures.
2021, right? That's my biggest thing is I have every single Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins figure.
Oh, okay.
So since I have all of them, I would like to continue
You need to have all of them.
getting all of them.
Are you gonna get all of Wave 1?
Yeah.
For the zombie ones?
No. As far as really with anything, kind of like I said with like, you know, Ninja Turtles, it's mostly Michelangelo, or you know, when it comes to like Michael Myers or Freddy, like it has to be a pretty different look for me to get anything else now, because I don't need 20 of the same exact figure just from a different company or whatever. So with wrestlers, it really has to be like, how much do I love this wrestler? I do like Sabu, and he'll be in Wave 1, but I don't really collect Sabu, so I won't worry about that. I'll get all the major guys, maybe a couple others here or there, but you know,
we'll Hebner.
Maybe we'll see. I don't feel the need to have him. I like Earl Hebner. I met him once.
I just it'd be cool to have, you know, this,
but
like for like fake photography stuff.
Sure. I don't really do any of that either. So
okay. So to wrap this up, plug anything that you got to plug.
Okay, well, I suppose since anybody that would, you know, be into like the wrestling and collecting, the best thing to do would be check out my podcast, the Major World Order podcast, a fan podcast to the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, where we interview other fans within the community. Brandon is someone that we have talked about but there's like 2,000 people in this community, so
Yeah,
it's,
a lot of people.
we got to get through people. But you're definitely on the list. But so if you are part of the wrestling world and you're a fan of, Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, or just collecting, that's what we do, is we just showcase the community. I am a musician and whatever. So like, if you want to follow me, go check out at Zombilly Horror. That's ZOMBILLYHORROR. And you can find anything that I've done, whether it's music or movies that I've done, or podcasts or anything like that. So at Zombilly Horror, at Major World Order, that's where you can find everything that we do.
All right, thanks, and thank you for taking the time to be on here. And definitely, once we have Jake Wyatt on, then maybe we'll have all three of you on.
Yeah,
Just
that'd be fun.
all right. See ya.
Thank you.